When I moved into this building, they warned me about only one thing. The walls here are very thin. I smiled back then. Thin walls didn't seem like a big problem. I didn't know that in this building, it wasn't just the walls that were thin. The line between normal and what people hide was thin too. On the first night, I woke up because someone was crying. The sound came from downstairs. I checked the time. 3:12 a.m. Crying at night is normal. Everyone has bad days. What wasn't normal was the feeling that the crying was somehow meant for me. The next morning, I met the man from the apartment across the hall. He was tall, a little hunched, with a scratch on his cheek. He looked at me longer than necessary and said, "You're new here?" I nodded. "Then don't listen to the building." His words stayed in my head longer than they should have. That same day, I met the woman who lived downstairs. She was holding a small child in her arms and looked exhausted. She said it gets noisy at night here, especially from the basement, that someone seems to live there, but the police never find anyone. That night, the crying came back. This time, it was closer. I got out of bed and pressed my ear against the door. The sound came from the hallway, as if someone was standing between floors. I looked into the corridor. It was empty, but a wet trail stretched across the stairs as if someone had come up from the basement. A cold knot formed in my stomach. The next day, I went down to the basement in daylight. It was cold and smelled damp. The light flickered like it was about to go out. In the corner, there was a blanket, an empty cup, and a single woman's earring. I didn't know who it belonged to, but for some reason, I immediately thought about the woman downstairs. When I went back upstairs, the man with the scratch was standing in the hallway. He said I shouldn't go down to the basement. He explained it simply. Sometimes what you find doesn't want to be found. I felt scared. I told him he was frightening me. He said he was only trying to warn me. That night the crying came back again, but this time there was whispering too. I caught only one word. Help. My heart was beating so loudly that I felt like the whole building could hear it. I slowly walked to the door and opened it. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, unable to make myself take a step forward. The hallway was empty, but the crying had stopped, as if whoever had been there noticed me. I went downstairs, slowly. Every step felt too loud. The light on the stairs flickered like in an old horror movie. On the second floor, I heard a soft rustle. Someone quickly slipped into an apartment across the hall. I only caught a glimpse of a shadow. It was small. I told myself it must have been a child. But why would a child be walking the hallway at 3 a.m? By the basement door, the same blanket lay on the floor. Now it was wet. There was the faint smell of cheap soap in the air. The same scent I remembered from the woman downstairs. I went down. The light went out for a second. In the darkness, I heard someone breathing. I don't want to hurt you, I whispered. The words sounded foolish even to me. A voice answered from the shadows. Please don't call the police. I asked if she lived here. She said she was hiding. She told me her husband was looking for her, that he was dangerous, that he lived in this building. My stomach tightened. I thought about the man with the scratch. I asked if she'd seen him. She said yes. She said he pretended to be kind, that he helped everyone. But when the doors closed, he was different. We froze. Someone was walking in the hallway above us. The footsteps stopped right above the basement door. Someone tried the handle. It's him, she whispered. I turned off my flashlight. Darkness swallowed us. The footsteps moved away. We sat in silence. I could feel her hand trembling. "I'll help you," I said quietly. The words left my mouth before I could think. We agreed that in the morning I would call a crisis center and help her leave this place quietly. When I went back upstairs, the same earring was lying by my door. This time there was a small note beside it. "You're making a mistake." My hand started to shake. About an hour later, I heard the woman downstairs screaming, "Where were you? I told you not to go out." The child was crying. In that moment, nothing made sense anymore. The woman downstairs, the woman in the basement, the man with the scratch. Someone was lying. I slid down to the floor by my door and realized something terrifying. I didn't know who I was trying to save and who I was supposed to be afraid of. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by my door and listened to the building breathe. When morning came, I went down to the basement with my phone in my hand. My finger hovered over the call button. I told myself I would call the police if I saw her again. She was gone. The blanket was still there, and on the floor, a dark stain. My stomach turned. I thought I was too late. When I rushed back upstairs, I ran into the man with the scratch. He was carrying a small toolbox. I asked him if he had seen her. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said yes. He told me he knew she was hiding in the basement and that someone was coming for her. I asked him why he hadn't called the police. He said he had tried before, that the police didn't believe her. They said she was unstable, that the person she feared was a respected neighbor. My chest felt tight. I asked him who she was afraid of. "The woman downstairs," he said. For a second, the hallway felt too small to breathe in. He told me her husband had died 2 years ago. Since then, she had been unraveling, that she controlled everyone around her, that she used fear to keep people close. He said the woman in the basement was her sister, that she had tried to escape, that she was afraid of the police because her sister once forced her to lie. I remembered the screaming from downstairs. I remembered the child crying in the middle of the night. He said the crying I heard wasn't coming from the basement at first. It was the child, left alone while her mother went down to the basement to scream at her sister. The sound had traveled through the thin walls. Suddenly, we heard a loud bang from below. We ran. In the basement, the woman downstairs was standing over her sister, grabbing her by the hair. The child was crying in the corner. She looked at us with empty eyes. Not fear, just anger. She said her sister had ruined her life, that she deserved to be punished. I stepped forward, my voice shaking. I told her she was scaring her own child. Her hands trembled for a second, just long enough. The man with the scratch rushed forward. I grabbed the child and ran back. The police arrived quickly this time. They took the woman downstairs away. They took her sister to the hospital. They took the child into care. Later, the man with the scratch told me something I can't forget. Sometimes monsters don't look like monsters. They look like people everyone feels sorry for. A week later, I moved out of that building. That same day, the police called me. They said the woman from the basement would survive and that she wanted to thank me. I left without looking back. Now, when I hear someone crying at night, I don't tell myself it's none of my business. Sometimes it's a cry for help that everyone has learned to ignore. And the scariest part is how easy it is to learn to ignore it too.